first time on CJ's Court that, or rather it is on CJ's Court that we're having this family on set together for the first time. Each and every one of them, has their own path that they follow. One is known to you, the other is not new to you. Well, probably there's just one who is totally new, but this is happening for the very first time over here. And I think it's the first time that they will be doing certain reflections as well on a show and probably publicly. Edith also tuned in right now. So I've got to my father's right. She's the youngest of them all. On the sister act, she's the youngest, Juliet Ekirapa. Julie, it's good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
The face of Nivea, right?
Oh my. Amen. Amen.
Yeah, well, most people would know Grace. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you have a famous sibling, then people don't think you have your own life. Oh, yeah. So it's important for me to say that you are successful in your own right.
Right.
Yeah, you share the surname, but you have charted your own path as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, in the middle, she's not new, not to us over here and not to many people. And there's still this question, and when we put up the flyer, there's still this question that people are asking. We won't ask it here today, but there's still this question like, was that a movie? Was that a music video? Was that real? Well, but we've got Grace Ekirapa as well, show host, Crossover 101 on NTV, and it's always lovely to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be back.
Right, and in the middle right there, you're the middle child.
Yes, actually we said the way we were born.
Right.
The second one, right in the middle.
And then I've got closest to me for the first time on camera is Ashleen. Ashleen Ekirapa, she's the firstborn, she's the quietest of them. Off the set, I was just asking, is it this firstborn thing that sometimes firstborns have to be a bit passive because they had to let the younger siblings have everything? You keep on being told, leave it to the baby.
It's true. Yeah.
It's true. So these guys, you are abused, right? You need therapy. You need therapy. Yeah. Radido Doso says, I am on board. Ashley, nobody would think that you do farming. Nobody would think that you do farming. I mean, farmers don't look as cute as you. Yeah.
Oh.
But you do farming, right?
Yeah, I do farming.
What kind of farming do you do?
I do poultry and dairy farming.
Okay.
Yeah.
How involving is that?
Dairy is too involving.
Okay.
But with poultry, it's not that involving, but you need to be hands-on.
So how do you still get time to slay?
It's natural. It's inborn.
Because anytime somebody talks about farming, and I think that's the reason most of us don't go into it. Mm-hmm. We're thinking of how we'll crack our nails, we will be so unkempt, we will be dirty all the time and in overalls and gumboots. So most people never think about farming. Mm-hmm. But you chose a path at a very young age. Very young age, yes, because I won't tell them how old you are, but you chose a path at a very young age to go into something like farming. Yeah, would you just talk about what made you go into that?
When we shifted to Limuru, it started like you just want to keep some two chickens.
Right.
You want your own milk, and then we decided to just start.
Okay.
So when it started, it became like a passion to us.
Where we here means.
With my husband, I'm married. I'm married to an
heartbreak number one. That's the first heartbreak on the show. Yeah. So you with your hubby, so you decided. But why would you go to Limuru? I mean, you were young. You still are young. Most people who are young, they're thinking of they need to live in the city. If they're not living in the city, they're thinking of relocating abroad. That's how most people think. Why would you go to Limuru?
I can say that, let me take you back to 2012 when we shifted to, when we were living in Langata. So we stayed for a while, and then I think there's a season in everyone's life.
All right.
And when you go through a season where you're financially down,
Yeah.
like there's nothing going on in your life, and you see the devil has 3 ways of attacking marriages mostly. It's either financial, infidelity,
All right.
or health.
Okay.
So ours was financial.
All right.
It really hit us. Like 2016 was our worst year.
Okay.
Yet it was a blessing for us because we got our second born.
All right.
So we decided to go back to Limuru because that's where my husband was born.
Okay.
So we started from scratch because we lost everything.
You didn't tell him, look, I didn't get married to you in town for you to take me back to the village. You want to stay in Limuru, you go live in Limuru. When you need to visit me, visit.
No, in fact, I was the one who pushed him
Okay.
because I knew that we needed to start somewhere.
All right.
And God has a way of blessing a person who wants to start from somewhere.
Okay. You know, I know the men are just saying hallelujah right there. Mukamanyaga tuned in, Ann Gidomi tuned in, and I'm seeing a few more people, Frank Angolio, Julie Chaki, each and every one of them saying, watching. Because, you know, I know the young men, they just feeling like, why can't I get a lady like Ashley who is willing to just start with you from where you are? I'll go to Julie. Grace, I'll come to you because you've been around here. But I'll go to Julie, you know. But you have taken a very different path.
I have.
Talk about your path a bit.
Well, I do a lot of things. I am the best definition of a hustler. I am not a farmer. I am afraid of chicken. I only love it when it's on my plate. But then I have taken into the modeling industry. And I think it's okay. So far, so good. I can't complain.
All right, you took it. Were you influenced by Grace at any one point?
No.
Okay.
Because
she never brought you into the limelight because I know she's been out there on the stage like.
She tried.
Okay.
She tried, but then I think on that side her light was too bright. So I looked like this thing that's trying to, you know.
So you decided to pick.
But then I
another side.
decided to just try and focus. So I'm doing modeling and I am a voice artist.
Okay.
So
Well, I've got to tell you that your voice, you know, you even before we got on set, and I was thinking, what's this girl doing with her voice?
I get that question all the time. I'm a voice artist.
All right. Okay. All right. Grace,
Yes.
you're the most famous. You're the most famous of your siblings. Does that put pressure on you?
No.
Or you don't consider yourself to be famous?
No, I don't. Actually, I don't think it hit home as much. I'm only reminded mostly when, like, we'll be together walking somewhere and someone says, "Hi, Grace," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Then it would hit me. But I think I feel like it's a placement.
Okay.
I take it as a placement, and of course, it's the path that God has designed for me. Meaning, if this wasn't God's path, probably if He chose for me another path, I would probably be in farming.
Are you
Which
serious?
I am really trying to get into, by the way. I'm afraid of chickens, but I'll keep them.
Okay.
So for me, this is really, it's a journey, and also it's the path that God has designed for me. This is my purpose. I'm right in the middle of it. But the other thing that actually makes it very comfortable is knowing that these people have my back, regardless. To them, I'm not a TV host.
Okay.
To them, I'm their sister and the auntie to their kids. So really, that actually makes it, brings in a balance that keeps away the whole aspect of TV hosts and being popular.
But now that Julie is also, on adverts.
Yeah.
Ashley, how does that make you feel? Like, you just like, okay, you guys do your thing, I'll do my thing? Or do you feel the pressure of being the older sibling to these faces that are out over there?
I don't feel the pressure.
Okay.
I am very proud of them. I'm like their mother. So it makes me feel so good to see them on TV. And it encourages my 2 small boys. They are always so happy to see their aunties.
And also, she's very shy. She doesn't like camera. I don't think she'll do anything on TV. There's one time I tried, we had an audition,
So I thought she's pretty, she could actually do it. And we spent like 2 hours trying to pin her up. And
Yeah.
just say, hi, my name is Ashley, but she couldn't.
She's like, it's too much. So it's just not in her, and she's comfortable that way, which is actually, she's probably the voice of reason for us.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She is.
Talking about, being the mother, I know that November is very special for you all because it has the birth date of your mom. And then it is when your mom also passed on. And we were having this discussion early on, she passed on when you all were very young. She was young, of course, but you guys were very young as well. How was it growing up without your mom? And now, especially for you, Ashley, you had to step up. You said your mom passed on when you were 10. How was it for you?
It was so hard.
Right.
But there's a way, as I had mentioned, a way that God comes in.
Okay.
He takes the space of your mother.
Right.
He also sent people during that time. We had our auntie who was taking care of us. And we had a very stable dad during that time, before he remarried. He was the mom and the dad at the same time. But you see, even if he was playing the two roles, we still needed the motherly side, which we didn't get as such.
Okay.
So it wasn't easy.
We're having your sister becoming the mother to you people, especially now, Julie, you must have been totally young.
I was very young. I was
6 years old.
You were
was
6
6
years
years,
old. So were there times you would look at Ashley and you're thinking like, you're not mom?
Yes, I had those moments because I grew up kind of a tomboy, and I loved playing a lot. I was this kid. We grew up in Eastlands, so playing for me was it. I'd wake up in the morning and the first thing that hits my mind is I want to go out and play. But her being the mother, she'd think, no, you need to shower, you need to have breakfast, you need to have all these things, planned, and you need to do your homework. So there are times I'd look at her like, so unaniambia. Siache nikacheze, because I'm still a kid at the end of the day. But now, growing up, I have come to really appreciate what she did because she made sure we were on a straight line.
All right.
So back then, I was like, huyo ananiambia nini, si mama yangu. But with time, I grew to understand that she did whatever it is she did because she really loved me.
You've talked
She beat
about
us too.
She did a lot.
Oh,
Beat
she
you guys.
beat
Oh.
us.
I mean, she's not far older than you guys.
But you see, she had this commanding personality. She's not very timid. Look at her. She looks small and all quiet.
She looks very soft and she loves crying, but she's not.
Actually, she will cry when beating you.
She would.
But she'll beat you anyway. And I remember a time when she was slapped because of a boy.
My husband is watching. I saw he said,
Kaka
"Do you
is watching." She wanted to go out and Tush was like, no, you can't go. Hey, Tush slapped her.
She made me so confused. At it was at Christmas, it was on New Year's Eve. And I was so confused because I want to call this boy and say, Happy New Year, but I was so confused because Trish is looking at me and ended up saying, Merry Christmas. Like,
I remember. She played both roles in terms of discipline, in terms of being that person who was the voice, like I said, voice of reason. We knew if we made a mistake and she corrected us, she was right. Which we actually robbed her at some point. Because she didn't get to be the child, however. But I don't think there would have been anybody else to fit in the role like she did. I think God knew what he was doing.
And from the pictures, I think, from the pictures I've seen of your mama, I think I'm right, but I think she is the closest.
Yeah, she looks more like mom. I think we all have features of mom, but hers are more conspicuous.
But you guys don't look like you grew up in Eastlands. You look like you grew up on this other side of town.
we get that a lot.
You grew up on this side of town, you grew up in Karen. Well, you went through a few things, but in your most difficult days, you were taking spaghetti,
Oh. Wow.
That's very sweet.
That was your struggle. That was your hustle. You don't look like you grew up in Eastlands. Where in Eastlands did you grow up?
Government quarters. It's near St. Stephen's Church on Jogo Road.
Okay.
Famous Botella, actually. Botella is
It's
more
near
known.
Botella.
All right.
Yeah.
So why you ever bullied? You know, did you have all these things of, because, you know, you're not my skin type. You're not my skin type. So did you have these guys who would always be like around your house a lot because they're thinking,
We had a dad that was
We had a lion. We had a lion for a dad. And he had a very old car. It was a KRK Mazda. So it was a very famous car. Every
Big
time
noise.
you're playing outside and you'd hear people shout, RK, RK! And then you would run up the stairs because my dad hated when we were outside.
do you feel that he became overprotective when he lost your mom?
He definitely did.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And that sometimes would be very overbearing. Like he felt that he owed your mom, and then he is here. He did expect to be left with the children.
3 girls, yeah.
3 girls, all of them very beautiful. And he's here, and he wants to make sure they're going to grow up just fine. But how then did that, Grace, how then did that affect your relationship with your dad?
I think the positive aspect is, I think where we grew up, there was so much. There was crime. There was prostitution around. Girls were dropping out of school and getting pregnant, and you know, raising their children in their mothers' homes. And I think that was my dad's greatest fear. Like, I wouldn't want my kids to end up that way. And of course, having 3 girls was pressure.
Yeah.
I think even friends would tell him, hey, you need to buy a gun, you know. Because there were men literally, you know, just waiting on us, you know. If he wasn't that protective of us, probably would have ended up in that direction. And so he did that to protect us the best way he knew how. However, there were instances that we felt he was also very protective. It got to him. He would see other people outside doing things, girls, and then he would come home and imagine that we did the same things and scold us
Okay.
without even having done them. So that made us, personally, I resented that. Because I was like, I'm being a good girl, but you always come home and scold me because you saw someone else do something. So I kind of resented my dad because I felt he didn't understand me. He didn't take time to know that I didn't do that. And so I sort of withdrew.
Okay.
For me, I don't know about them. But for me, it actually affected me deeply.
Okay.
At some point, I was like, maybe you don't love me anymore, you know?
Yeah. But now you see that he was totally helpless.
Yeah. And he did the right thing. We actually owe him.
We do.
We owe him big time. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have been on this set, you know.
I know.
He should have been on this set just to.
Maybe
to
we
see-
wouldn't be talking. That's the problem.
You still fear your dad till today?
We do. It doesn't go away.
It doesn't
Well,
go away.
it kind of reduces, but it doesn't go away completely. It still remains.
All right. So this particular month, you know, when you go back and when you're talking about your mom, actually you started tearing. Though I'm told you tear a lot, but it's been quite a while. But it still does elicit emotions for you. When you look at your children, do you feel you want to be for them what your mom was not able to do? And in a sense, then you become this protective mother hen as well?
Somehow.
Not sure.
But it makes me pray so much to God to
Yeah.
enable me to see my grandchildren.
Your grandchildren. Yeah.
Because I'm sure if she was around, she would be very happy.
She would.
Because we all have boys except Chrissy now that we're waiting. We don't know. we have boys, and she wanted to have a baby boy.
Okay.
But God took her before she could have a baby boy.
When you talk about you all have boys except Grace, you know, so we get to know, Julie, that you're married as well.
Yes, married to one husband, and I have 3 beautiful boys.
You all got, you got married so young.
Yes.
And your mom passed on so young. And I did ask this before we got on set, that do you think that your passing on of your mom at that age somehow influenced you people getting married early?
It did. And like I said earlier, growing up without that love of a mother, everyone tried. We had our aunts around, Tush was there, Gracie was there for me. So, but there's this gap only a mother can feel. So when I got my husband, there's this love he gave me that I had not known, I had not experienced. I'm not saying he loved me like my mother would have, but it was a different kind of love. And to me, I think that was it. And
what kind of love was this? Because there's somebody who's watching out there who wants to give this kind of love. Because people keep on telling him, you're not loving me correctly. So what kind of love was this?
He loved me the right way. The way I was. I was broken. I was just, yeah.
All right.
At a very bitter stage of life. But then he loved me the right way. He made me feel what? He taught me, and he kept reminding me, I know he's watching, he kept telling me, one day the world will know your name. Back then, I was looking at myself at the mirror, I'm like, which world? You know,
Yeah.
not even my neighbors would know my name. Would the world really know my name?
Right.
But now I actually believe him because, like I said, he loves me right.
All right. And you see now, you're dealing with bitterness at some point. Grace talks about the effect on the relationship with your dad. At some point you resented him. I don't know what she was dealing with. Sometimes people look at you on the outside and they're like, that's a very pretty girl, she doesn't have any issues in life. But on the inside, you are cracking and you are crashing. And you are battling with who you are on the outside and who you are on the inside. How were you able to navigate around that?
I think I'll say personally because I've faced this on air and on social media. There's a point I actually spoke about how there's a time in our lives we actually she bought milk and mandazi for us to eat and sleep on nights. My dad had just remarried and we were not in very good terms with my stepmother. So we had our own issues, but now at some extent we were like, okay, you live your life, we live ours. So we would not be able to interact even during meals. So she opted to buy us that and we would eat and drink, and sleep. So
that was routine?
It happened
for
some time.
Just for a while.
Yeah. So I went on there and online and I said, I thank God that now I can afford a meal. You know, that now I can afford transport to town, that now I can afford to pay my rent. It was a testimony I was giving, and some people went on to bash and say, you look like you grew up in Kileleshwa, you're a Babi, what are you saying? You know, they thought I was putting up a story to get sympathy. Others went ahead and said, that is what kind of poverty is that? Some of us are having worse.
And nobody should ever diminish your pain, right?
No, but I said your kind of pain is not the same as mine. Maybe yours is deeper. I'm not saying yours is less than mine. I'm just appreciating that I came from this place and I am here. And I realized it, like you said, we have faces that don't look like they suffered.
Right.
This is the glory of God, guys. We've been through hell and back.
We have.
This is the glory of God. Like Tush said earlier, we've had people in our lives. Sometimes we wish we could keep them, but God is like, no, their season in your life has ended. They came in, they brought in staff. Some people paid for us things. I remember there was a time when I had a stroke, a mild stroke, and I was brought home. It's my producer who paid for my hospital bill, remember? And we didn't even know him that much. It's just people who God brought into our lives to take us through seasons of life. And if you're watching and you've been that person, by and say, shout out to you. We bless you and we pray to God for you every single day. We appreciate that God used you to our lives. And so to answer your question, well, yeah, we've faced quite a number of things and these faces have covered that up. But in one way or another, I think God has been, I know God has been our anchor for real. And each other.
The absence of your mom, the coming in of your stepmom, did it build a bond between the three of you? Did you feel like we just have us now, so we've got to be tight? Or were you people tight even before?
Tush, can you answer that?
It started even before because we only had the three of us.
Okay.
Our auntie was there, yes, now the sister to my dad, but she was there to help us where we couldn't.
Okay.
But now the bond grew over time, and when she came, now our stepmom, it made it stronger.
Okay.
Because she was fighting us in a way. So we had to be strong, the three of us, so that we can also not fight her, but overcome what she's doing.
What's the naughtiest thing you guys ever did against your stepmom? What's the naughtiest thing?
A lot of things.
People already think we are righteous. That's not true.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever planned pull? You know, she knew that you pulled that, but then she had no evidence.
I think she's the one who pulled naughty stuff on us. The thing is, we were so scared of our dad. We were so scared of our dad, and we knew this is our dad's woman. You know, there's no I don't know. Maybe for myself, there's no point. I saw her as mom.
Okay.
No, she was my dad's wife. Till now, she's my dad's wife.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever pulled anything. I remember one time we had an incident where I was cleaning. The both of us are very much into cleaning. So this time I was cleaning the house, and then she comes. It was her son.
She was actually
Nini.
braiding her hair.
Huh? Who came and stepped with Nini, Matope, and then she hit me with a stool, and I ran away. It was Deni. Yeah, so I was cleaning, and then the son came in with muddy shoes and stepped on. And you know, for us, our mom was very clean and neat. So we had that culture. Our house was always neat. So we wanted to keep it that way. But for them, they probably had a different
Culture.
Yeah. So he comes in and he's stepping with muddy shoes, and I think I either beat him or I scolded him. And the mom came from nowhere and came with a stool. I remember I was on the stair, and she wanted to hit me, or she did hit me. I don't remember. And I took off. And then everybody was scared because my dad is coming to ask where am I, and they don't know.
Right.
I think I felt kind of good to know that she was actually going to get a scolding, but it was because I was really tired.
All right. Tish, when did you leave home? Because you've been married for a while.
Yeah. This is my 10th year in marriage.
Wow.
I left home when I was so young.
Yeah.
And the reason why I left home that young is because I wanted to have a home for my sisters.
Okay.
A place they can call home.
Right. So you decided you're going to make the sacrifice. You're going to create the path for them.
Yes. And then I met a very, I can say, an amazing man.
Okay.
He has loved me. And he loved them
How
like...
are you all guys just meeting amazing men? Why are you guys just meeting amazing men?
It's God. It's God, because when we were staying together, he looked after Kina Gracie like their brother. He has been their big brother throughout. So my main aim was to give these two beautiful girls a place to call home,
Right.
a place they can be at peace from all that.
I remember when I met Grace years back, she was putting up with you, right?
Yeah, in Langata.
Yeah. And then that's when I met Julie as well. Was she just clearing school? Or
Yes, just clearing school.
Then Grace also decided that she was going to move into her place.
Yeah.
And, you were such a fighter. You'd go out over there. How are you paying your bills, Grace? Let's just talk about this. How are you paying your bills? Because you were not living on the wrong side of town either.
No, I managed to, when I went to Bible school,
She went to Bible school. She went to Bible school. You better get that. She went to Bible school.
When I went to Bible school, I was living with her, and then it happened to be a bit hectic to travel, to keep, what is it called?
The distance.
The distance here became quite big and long for me. So I ended up being housed by one of my classmates.
Right.
I didn't know her. Actually, there were two ladies living together. So they were like, you know what, we live closer by, so you can live with us and go to school. And then after a year, my cousin was around the same area, and she took me in because the two ladies went separate ways, and I didn't have a place, but she took me in. So, and after that, I went to 2 months, and then after that, I went out on my own. So this is the interesting part. When I was out there, somebody saw me when I was in Bible school. I didn't have a relationship with this person, in terms of I didn't know them well, but they just walked up to me and said, God has instructed me to pay your rent. I remember telling them, and we all didn't imagine this could happen. We're like, is she looking for something?
Right.
You know, are you out for something? But this person paid my rent, I think, for almost 5 months.
Wow.
And it would be end month, the rent is sent, and nothing else. I think communication only happened around end month. It's rent paid, and that's it. Same to shopping, same to stuff, because I think I was right in the middle of God's will. And he knew that if he didn't provide, I would probably be on a very wrong tangent. And so he did it. God did it in so many different ways. And they also did that. They supported me in occasions that I needed help.
So how did you feel when Grace wanted to leave? You're thinking like she's not stable at that particular point because she didn't have a job. She's in school. How did that make you feel? Did you feel like, have we done something to her?
Not doing something to her, but I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like I will not be protecting her out there, because you see, when I'm with her, I know what she's dealing with, but I
you
just
know,
prayed.
Who's trying to come? Who's trying to sneak in at night?
But I just prayed to God and told him that he knows best.
Okay.
And with Gracie, it's easy for her. She's I've raised her well.
Okay. With Gracie, it's easy because you've raised her well. Let's talk about Julie. 'Cause that's what is it about Julie that you felt like she's going to stay home right here?
I felt like she really needed me around until that time when the right man comes, and I know that Yani, this is the right man for her. Ndio aende. But before that, I really wanted to keep her close. Because one, she was a party girl. She loves partying.
Wow,
And I'm 60, everyone has a
So, with my husband Jimmy being around with her when she wants to go out, it was easy for me.
Okay.
I will be at peace knowing that she's with Jimmy.
All right. All right. And you know, Langata is Langata. You didn't need to board a vehicle to go anywhere. Langata
Everything
is
is around.
Everything is around there. I was at a certain graduation today, and so the guest of honor, he was talking about there is a club somewhere in Langata. He was talking about the older days and then the current days. So he says, you know, when we were young, we could not go out to the bar or anywhere because even the bartenders would not sell to you. He says, but now you go around Langata, there is a place just at the junction on your way to Carnival and next to a petrol station. And you're saying, do you people know that place? And because they had said I'm a pastor, I didn't raise my hand. And he's like, if you pass around our place, you will see people at age 18 and 19 and 20, and they're all around our place. And so you were dealing with things like, you know, Julian would love to party, and then you're in LA.
Imagine.
The opportunities are crazy.
A walking distance.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a very crazy question. So did anybody ever get into drugs?
Drugs.
Yeah, did anybody smoke something? Did anybody smoke something? You know, because peer pressure. All right, you're laughing, so I'm going to let that pass. I think Grace was the peddler. Abram Kanata is watching. They didn't see that question coming. Abram Kanata is watching, and then there is who else? Of course, I mentioned Julie as well. Happened with them before we started. Oh, Nashami is watching as well. Let me see who is here. Guys, we're just hanging out with the Ekirapa sisters. You know, this month is a very crucial month, special month for them, because this is the month their mom was born. It's the month that their mom, they lost their mom, they buried their mom as well, and they were young. And probably, I don't know, well, maybe you have, but I don't know whether you've ever had just the opportunity to just talk about these things openly like this. And I know that even as we do this, as simple as this talk is, there's somebody out there who's getting help.
Yeah.
There are people who are placing themselves there, you know, they're feeling like, okay, so They may have lost their parents as well when they're young. I know a friend of mine who's he's 43 now. He lost his mother when he was 5, and he says every time he goes into a funeral where a mother has passed on, he breaks down. You know, and sometimes somebody might think they're totally abnormal over there. So there's somebody else who needs to know that, you know, they probably right now are taking care of their siblings, and they're thinking this is too much, this family is under a curse. But then you get to know there are other families where the firstborn had to be there for the people. And regardless of how life starts, sometimes you just find the cause of life. And then there's the talk as well. Thriving couples are right here. You don't even need to join the group. You just need to check out on these guys. And somebody else then would learn how to love a broken person as well, because they're getting to hear what the expectations of people are when they're broken and when they're wounded, and they just want to know that they're being loved right. If your mom was here today, what do you think would be different?
Everything. Everything.
Julie, what do you think? What is that thing that you have missed that you think you would have had? And if she was here today, she came up, if your mom was sitting in the seat that I'm sitting right now, and you're to have a conversation, you just want to talk to her, what are those things that you would be telling her?
I'll take you back kidogo.
Okay.
When we were celebrating her on the 14th, I wrote on the internet and I was trying to update her on what was happening in our lives. But I didn't sleep that night. You know, I kept asking God, why?
Yeah.
You know? And for the past years, it's been 20 years. And sometimes we're like, I miss your mom, I miss your mom. But this year, I felt so mad.
Yeah.
I was very bitter, and I kept asking her, why didn't you fight?
Yeah.
Being a mother, I can imagine if I was to become sick right now, I'll do everything to be better for my kids. So I was very mad at her, and I kept telling my husband and even Akinatush, why didn't she fight harder? You know, God, why did you have to take her when I was so young? Because the love I knew was to Mars and Grace's, kwa hiyo part, being a mother.
Yeah.
So now I look at my kids and I want to be there so much. I want to give them something I didn't get. So I don't even know how I should love them. I don't know how to give it, how to be this mother I never had. So if she woke up today, the first question I'd ask is why?
Okay.
Why didn't you fight some more? Why didn't you give me the allowance to get to 10 years? Why didn't you? So many whys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll tell you this before any one of you can say this. But when I lost my mom, tomorrow is the 3rd anniversary since she passed on the 29th of November in 2017. And I know Grace hosted me on the show that time, and even as I went to the show, she didn't know what to tell me, so she was just looking at me, and then we were having this conversation. But you see, she passed on when I was already quite grown. Yeah. But even at that point, you still feel like it could have been more. And I used to get upset when I would see people, you know, celebrating the birthdays of their mothers, and they had lived longer. I remember I went into a burial one time. I went to a burial of a friend of mine, a friend's mother, and she died at 93. And he was very devastated. And I'm sitting over there, and I'm saying, God, this lady didn't quite live for you. My mom did. So what would it have costed you to add 10 years?
Mom. Yeah, I know.
I didn't even want you to take away this lady. Yeah. I just wanted you to add like 10 more. But you see, even this man, his mom died at 93, and he totally was confused. He was 50 already, and he was totally confused. So I'm not even sure that even if she stayed on, it would be easier to let go. Yeah. There's just no easy way to deal with grief, right? Yeah. There's no easy way to deal with that. No. Yeah.
And I think for me, I totally agree with Julie. The place of feeling that mom should have fought. Although, I think coming into faith early, for me, helped me in so many ways. I look at it from very different angles. Sometimes I say, maybe if Mama was around, I would be a totally spoiled child. I would probably not be as responsible as I am. I would not look at life from this different angle, because my mom would spoil us.
Yeah.
Especially this one and and me. I spent a lot of my time with my mom because I was mostly sick, so she would take me to hospitals. I knew ice cream day was always when we were going to hospitals. So I honestly think.
Did you become sick intentionally sometimes?
No, the doctor said I needed to go to appointments. I actually think because it's after mom died that we all got into this grown-ups shoes, you know.
Right.
We started taking care of ourselves. We started getting responsibilities. It's after my dad remarried and got another woman that now we felt we needed to be better women and we would be better parents to our children. I think there was and there's been a motivation throughout for us to want to be and to feel that space that mom would have felt if she was alive. So on the contrary, I know I miss my mom. I wish she would stay longer. However, I still know God had a definite reason why she had to go at the time that she did.
All right. And Cecilia right there is saying, why did you let that pass? It could help someone who got tempted and possibly they could share how they escaped. You remember I asked you guys, did anybody get into drugs? And
they said I was a peddler.
But Cecilia is out over there saying, you know, why did you let that pass? It could help someone who got tempted. And the reason is, I wasn't trying to be cheeky, but you see what you guys were dealing with. Sometimes people seek validation.
Oh, yes.
Elsewhere, so they begin to look for, where can I find this identity, where can I feel this love, and so you've got a very harsh father, you don't have a mother's love, you've just got a few of you, and you don't know who to run to, who to go to. Sometimes people don't get into that kind of stuff because they were naughty. Sometimes they get into it because they want to escape. And Grace, you're the counselor, so
actually I'd say this. Because you've brought in two aspects that are very important. One, when you lose a parent at a very young age, there's a void. It's 20 years and we still feel the void. For that guy you said, he was 40,
he's 50,
but there's a void. Some people have lost their parents for over 50 years, but they still feel it. Unfortunately, for people and girls especially who are young, the validation comes a lot in men.
Okay.
And to be honest, I thank God they found
the right people.
Amazing men at that point, because it was very easy for them to find the wrong man, because they got married quite early. And it's God who actually just removed them from the enemy's scheme. You know what the enemy meant for harm, God turned it around for their good.
Especially Julie, right?
Yes. But there are people who will now, because loss comes with a lot of pain, and if you don't deal with grief, you will be tempted to numb it. And how you will numb this grief is by replacing it with something else. Sort of running, and it's all because you're in denial. You don't want to appreciate, you don't want to accept what has happened, so you keep covering it and throwing it under the carpet. So guess what? The carpet becomes so full. There's drugs in there, there's prostitution. Some people get into that. You sleep with every man that moves. Not because you want or because you're a bad person, but because there's a void you're feeling. Every man that tells you you're beautiful, you want to sleep with them because you feel like they like you. The truth is they don't. Another aspect would be now the quite opposite. Now other people would not want to get into relationships. They would now withdraw completely and hate the situation. Like for me, my dad was into alcohol a lot, and so most of the things he did or said was when he was drunk. So I resent alcohol with everything in me, including my nails. Everything. And it actually has impacted my life so much that even when it came to dating, if you are drinking that is high and by, I just realized you're in alcohol,
you didn't want that at all.
Bye-bye. And it's helped me because now I kept away from alcohol. I didn't get that validation from alcohol. I didn't get help from it. I have never tasted alcohol in my life, and not because I don't have access, but because I hated alcohol.
Because of what it represented,
because of,
right?
Yes, because it brought a picture of my dad that I did not like. He was good when he wasn't drunk, but when he was drunk, he became another person. And so now dealing with getting into drugs, I think she said you share so that you can know how to get out of it.
Right.
It's first to deal with the grief, deal with the issue, the core issue, because dealing with alcohol is not going to help.
Yeah.
It's not alcohol that's the problem, it's the grief.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so we just and keep praying that God will cover you so that you don't fall in the wrong arms, because it's very possible to fall into the wrong arms.
So yesterday, and we begin to wind up because I've kept you longer than I promised that I would. We could talk about this over and over. Yesterday was your mom's birthday.
Yeah.
What did you do yesterday?
What did you
It's been such a roller coaster of emotions, right?
We were together.
You were together.
We had lunch yesterday. Is it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
It was yesterday.
No, it was the
No, it
day
was the
before
day before
yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday we were home. I think pretty much everyone was just home.
We met. We went to one of the ladies who dresses Gracie, and we did a lot of fitting because my mom loved fashion.
Right.
So the best thing we can do is do what she
What
she
she
used
likes
to
to
love. So we did the fitting, and then we decided to do lunch, late lunch.
Okay.
And then we parted ways. Kila mtu akaenda kwake.
Is there something that you've ever thought of doing just to keep the memory of your mother? Well, you've just said she loved fashion. Have you ever thought of doing something and say, we will name this after Mom, just to keep her memory alive?
We thought of children. Everyone wants to have a daughter so that they can name them after mom. However, maybe not something, out there yet. But we actually want to do the celebration of her 20th anniversary this weekend, and having, her birthday yesterday. It's just that it was on a Friday and not everybody was available, but we want to do that and do it with my dad, just to be there, Daddy, let's cut cake and celebrate on his birthday. Because it represents, and a lot of people would ask, why are you celebrating someone who's already gone? It's not the death we're celebrating, it's the life she lived. The memories, there are times we sit together in our rooms, or we visited someone, either Tush or Julie's house, or mine, and we'll just be saying, oh, you remember how Mama used to like this? How Mama would want the grandkids. We say that if Mom was alive, they would not be with their children. She would steal them literally and keep them to herself. And so some of these things are what keeps us moving. We haven't thought of anything mega yet.
Right.
But it's those little memories that we keep to ourselves and remind each other. Sometimes we'll do a hairstyle. This one did a shoot and she looked exactly like Mama. We're like, Yeah, so those little things. And maybe even for people out there, I know a lot of people think death is, or maybe take death as something that should not be talked about, or should not reflect on it, simply because the person was gone. But it's important to keep those memories. They help even with the healing process. They do in greater ways than we can know.
The other day, interesting, because I'll bring a men's perspective to this. So the other day, was it 4 days ago, 5 days ago? So there's something that I really wanted to do at some point. 10 years ago, I thought about it. I gave myself a 10-year target. It had to do with schooling. Then because of my engagements, I'd gotten to a place where I felt like this is not going to work. So then recently, because of COVID, I had some time, so went back into class, then I was making application for something else. So Tuesday was my son's birthday, and at about 4, so I get this acceptance letter plus a scholarship for my doctorate, and the first person I thought about was my mom. And I was thinking, she should have been here to hear that I want to go into this. There's a way that the human soul is intertwined. That you cannot just wish it away, you cannot push it away. And I know that, Africans don't like talking about stuff like that. That's why sometimes then we have very violent behavior. We either become, like you said, withdrawn, or sometimes we're very violent, or sometimes we're we get into alcohol and drugs and everything because there's something that we have not dealt with. It's important for you to talk about it. When I did the first post concerning today's show, I say that you may need your tissues because I knew that we were going to have an emotional aspect as well over this, and somebody just receiving help over here. I want us to take our closing thoughts. You know, Julie, somebody who's young, who thinks that life has not been fair to them. They don't know which way to go. And you're sitting over here, as young as you are, and now you feel that you clearly have a path that you want to go into. And they'll be sitting at home and making excuses for why they make wrong choices. That camera right over there, you can encourage somebody.
Yes, but before I do that, let me answer the question you asked. All of us laughed because when we were doing our fittings, it's like, I hope Opa doesn't ask about drugs, and then boom, the question came. But because we are here to enlighten someone, I'd love to say, do not find comfort in alcohol. I did that. I was into drugs. None of them wants to acknowledge that, but I was into it. But it's because I felt like I belonged.
Yeah.
Every Friday, I niende nidunde, you know, I get high, hangover on Saturday, I get rid of the hangover from Saturday to Sunday, and then Monday I would sober up. But then, nikajitaka mkutano. And I said to myself, life is like a mirror. When you look at a mirror, you see a reflection. If you're smiling, the reflection will smile back at you. But if you're gloomy and mad and you're making faces, it's the same thing you will get. Life is like that. You look at life and feel like, it is so hard, I don't have people supporting me, I don't have this, I don't have that. That is exactly what life will give you. I have not gone to school, but I do so many things because I wake up every morning and I'm like, you know what? Today I am going to conquer A, B, C, D. So don't just sit at home and say, you know, I'm waiting for Friday and the dunda and all that, because that will not, it's not profitable, you know, because at the end of the day you will waste money, you will waste yourself. But if you hide yourself in Christ and actually believe in yourself, don't wait for people to come and then teach you how to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because that is where the energy comes from.
Wow.
Yes, and then strive. Look at what you want and go for it. Be a go-getter.
All right. Well, I suspected you, and I was
You
right.
did. But it's because she said I was a party girl, so it actually...
Well, Grace.
You know, life is unfair, but God is just.
All right.
Yes. Life is unfair, but God is just. Life sometimes will give you every kind of thing because maybe someone somewhere did something and it came back and it hit you the wrong way. But God is just. We would have sat down and cried over our mom dying, and I remember being suicidal. The one thing I thought about was, see, there's no one here to, you know, to cry over me. I say, I'm gonna go. Despite the fact that I had my sisters, I still felt that my mom left me, so she didn't love me enough, so I'm gonna go join her. And also at some point I felt she wasn't here to help me go through stuff, so I'd rather just die. But it wasn't important. If I had died then, there's so many people's lives I have touched now by the grace of God that I wouldn't have.
Girl, you were on a matatu. Yes, your image is my good God.
That, by the way, was very impressive. I thought, oh, this is really nice. But you know, many times the enemy, and you know, she said something about how the enemy will affect you. For singles, the enemy will affect you with fear. There will be all sorts of, you know, insecurities, especially if you're grieving and going through loss, and maybe not loss of a person, probably just loss of a job, or a relationship that you thought this was the guy, then he left, and you will start feeling like, okay, my life has come to an end. The thing is, if it hadn't happened to you, then who else? Who else? But also, how do you look at it in terms of how do you pick that up and now improve yourself, that when someone else comes to you and they've gone through the same thing, you'll be in a better position to help them. And I think that's how my life has panned out.
Okay.
I get very many stories of suicide. And because I have been in it and I've grown out of it, gone through counseling and help for it, I'm now able to pull somebody else, gone through loss, gone through relationship breaking and everything. So from this point, I can help someone up.
Right.
So apart from sitting down and crying over it, get up and say, I'm going to be strong for the next person, because life will always be in a cycle.
Right.
Your weakness will be somebody else's strong point.
Right.
So life is unfair, but God is just.
All right. Ashley.
I'll say when there's unity anywhere, God usually commands a blessing.
Right.
So for us, it has been the bond that we have had, and we still have, that God has been able to bless us in so many ways. So we cannot take it for granted. We count it all joy, despite what we have gone through, what we are yet to experience. But with God on our side, it has been an amazing journey.
All right. All right. Well, of course, we can't exhaust the whole story with these amazing ladies up over here. And I have had the opportunity to be in their life for a while right now, quite some number of years, seen a few of the changes.
Oh, yes.
But just amazing who they are becoming and what they are becoming, and how they take the challenges that come to them, and they do the best and make the most out of it. We probably will have another of this talk. We were not supposed to have a sit-in here. We were supposed to have this conversation elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm still looking forward to having this conversation elsewhere. But again, you know, we want to go and see how Ashlyn does farm. You know, we want to see that. I'm about to book, Julie, I'm about to book you to be wearing my stuff, because Grace has refused. Grace doesn't do my creativity design. She doesn't do that.
Oh my God, I didn't refuse. You just didn't bring it.
Yeah,
Do you have my size?
So we'll talk about that. But I'm so glad that you guys made the time to come in today and share these stories. I know that there are people out there, in the simplicity of the stories just being shared like that, somebody connects with Julie, somebody connects with Grace, somebody connects with Ashley, somebody connects with all of you, somebody connects with the place of your dad, another one connects with your stepmom, and all the various challenges that you have talked about here, the various stages of life. And they get to know that there's hope, you know, that there's hope. Especially, you know, when Julie, because you're still quite so young, when you say, you know, you don't have to do all of that because it's not profitable. Somebody out there at home gets to know that you don't have to be my age to say that it's not profitable. That you can make the right decisions even when you were young, right? Well, to everyone out over there, I hope that you have learned something and you have enjoyed yourself with this special edition of CJ Scott, because we were doing the sister act with Ashlyn Akirapa, Grace Akirapa, and Julie Akirapa. So glad that you made the time and we came to you live. This was a very special month for them. Since they are special to me, I thought that we needed to have this and talk about it. We didn't even know how we were going to have it because a lot of emotions involved. And we thank God that we've been able to do that. Have you subscribed to my YouTube channel? Please do that, CJ Atemo, and follow as well CJ Atemo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Till the next time, next Saturday, see you on CJ Scott.